A tree that is dying in its last few moments here on this earth, arguably, is its most beautiful moments. When you look at Christmas trees like this, you see they're beautiful. And I love the way this is decorated. I'm simple when it comes to decorations. I like white lights, that's it. I don't like all these blinking lights and the colorful ones and the ones that have like music they play with them. That's not my thing. But I think a tree, when it's all decorated, it's beautiful. We put our ornaments on there. We have the ones that our kids have made from school that are usually like their handprint or some sort of reindeer made out of popsicle sticks. And we decorate our trees and they look beautiful. But all the while they're looking beautiful on the outside, they're still dying. They're still going through the process of losing life, losing energy, and not creating anything new. And eventually, we have to take the tree outside because it is past the point of no return. It's now a safety hazard. Now they have these, Christmas tree lights that don't really produce any heat. But I remember the old days when you had the balls you had to screw in, that the second you screwed them in, they turned on. It was instantly hot to the touch. How in the world more houses didn't burn to the ground is beyond me. But I'm glad that we have a little more energy efficient ones that aren't quite as hot. But a tree, like I said, in its last few moments on this earth, arguably is the most beautiful few moments, but it's dying nonetheless. And when in relation to our vision and our dream and our drive for life, what our next few steps are going to be, and I'm not just talking about our businesses or our work. I think a lot of times when we think goals, we think professionally, how do we want to better ourselves? And that's obviously a part of our lives that we need to have vision for. In fact, we need to have vision for every aspect of our lives, from our health to our relationships, to our finances, to how we're going to raise our children, how we're going to participate and grow in this relationship here at church. Every single area, you name it, we need to have direction and purpose. Otherwise, we're just wandering about. But what happens so many times is we get a word from God. Typically, it's not an audible word. I've only heard the audible voice of God one time, and it was one word. So most of the time, it's not an audible voice, at least for me. It's having peace in my heart about what I'm doing, or knowing what I'm supposed to do and knowing that that's from God. But we have a word from God. We have a nudging from God saying, move in this direction. This is what you're supposed to put your hand to. This is what you're supposed to invest your time and your talent and your energy into. Go this way. And we do that, but what happens is if we don't continually come back to the Father and say, God, what's next? And am I still doing this the right way? Am I still submitted to your authority, submitted to your purpose and calling for my life? If we don't do that, we can continue, just like with the trees, to dress up the same old vision. And we can try to make it look better. We can try to retool it. We can try to repackage it. We can try to reconvince ourselves that we are still moving on the right path. But many times what happens is we have accomplished what we set out to do, but we haven't gone back to God and asked for what's new. Now, there's a whole group of us, and maybe it's your entire life or a portion of your life where maybe you haven't accomplished what you know God has called you to do, and we're going to get to that in a moment. But I'm talking about for those of you who are doing and are walking in the lane that you know that you're supposed to be in. We can go into that, and we can try to dress it up, and we can try to make it and squeeze it and fit it and force it to continue to be the vision. But if it's not God's vision for our life, eventually it's going to die. It's going to still have the ornaments on it, still going to have the garland and the lights and all the beautiful things, but eventually the core of it is going to die because it's no longer being fed by God. It's just a monument of what we're trying to do. We need to make sure that we are just like the nation of Israel in the wilderness, daily coming back to God. In fact, it says this in verse number 4 towards the end. The reason why he gave the daily portions is that I may test them whether they will walk in my law or not.